अस्सलामुअलैकुम। मैं हूं नौरीन चौधरी और आपको प्रोग्राम RFI स्पेशल में खुशामदीद कहती हूं। 28 मई पाकिस्तान की दिफाई तारीख में इंतहाई अहमियत का हामिल है। इस दिन की मुनासबत से इस्लामाबाद में सेंटर फॉर इंटरनेशनल स्ट्रेटेजिक स्टडीज़ की जानिब से गोल मेज़ कॉन्फ्रेंस का इनेकाद किया गया, जिसमें शुरका ने पाकिस्तान के एटमी प्रोग्राम और मिसाइल सिस्टम पर तबादला ख्याल किया। इस गोल मेज कॉन्फ्रेंस में मुशीर बराए तरक्कियात नेशनल कमांड अथॉरिटी लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल रिटायर्ड खालिद अहमद खुदवाई ने कलीदी खिताब किया। उन्होंने कॉन्फ्रेंस में 28 मई की स्ट्रेटेजिक अहमियत को उजागर करते हुए कहा,
A covert nuclear capability whose journey had started in 1972 was now announced to the world at large as an overt nuclear capability, especially for the benefit of our adversary in the East to register and ponder over the implications arising out of the restoration of this disturbed strategic balance and the offsetting of the relative conventional asymmetry.
लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल रिटायर्ड खालिद अहमद खुदवाई ने पाकिस्तान के एटमी सफ़र को दो हिस्सों में तकसीम करते हुए कहा कि एक दौर 28 मई 1998 से पहले और दूसरा उसके बाद का है।
Ladies and gentlemen, when you look back at the history of Pakistan nuclear programs since the famous Multan meeting of nuclear scientists called by President Zulfikar Ali Bhutto in 1972, 52 years ago to be exact, you might discern a very clear line of separation between two eras of 26 years each. Nuclear program in the pre-28th, 30th May 98 era, and then the nuclear program in the post-28th, 30th May 1998 era. What was achieved by the celebrated Pakistani scientists and engineers in the pre-28th to 30th May 1998 era, 26 years to be exact, and specifically in those two historic days, was the culmination of a heroic, committed, and dedicated national scientific and engineering effort underwritten by a consistently fierce political will, commitment, and national resolve at the government levels, irrespective of the politics of the day, to make Pakistan a nuclear weapons power. Pakistanis may or may not have eaten grass, but the galaxy of Pakistani scientists and engineers, through their successful experiments, demonstrated to the world on those 2 days a basic Pakistani nuclear weapons capability as they responded in style to the Indian nuclear tests of 11th and 13th May 98. On the other hand, the post-nuclear test era from May 1998 onwards, again 26 years to be exact, for which Allah Almighty chose some of us to carry forward the good work of the scientists, represents the full operationalization, consolidation, and the securing of Pakistan's nuclear capability, physically and diplomatically, according to the policy of credible minimum deterrence initially, and then subsequently the policy of full spectrum deterrence.
एडवाइज़र नेशनल कमांड अथॉरिटी लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल रिटायर्ड खालिद अहमद खुदवाई ने स्ट्रेटेजिक प्लान डिवीज़न के क़याम, इसकी अहमियत और ख़िदमात के बारे में शुरका को बताया कि एटमी ताकत बनने के बाद इसे जदीद तकाज़ों के मुताबिक तरक्की देने के लिए एक नए सफ़र का आगाज़ किया गया।
To begin with, the next challenge turned into an opportunity was broadly the work undertaken in the second era, our era, which was based on the early identification and conception of a vision, and thereafter heads down for focused work on 7 main segments and a few additional supporting ones, all moving in parallel because most of the work was interlinked. These, when gradually integrated into one wholesome force and being as a tri-services strategic capability, a term that I learned from my naval friends at the War College, was to based on elements of credibility of the capability, as well as the minimum numbers of weapons assessed, which would duly radiate the strategic effects of deterrence, of aggression on the large military machine of our adversary. And mind you, no staff college or war college prepares one for the challenge of conceiving and developing an operationalized national nuclear capability. No ready DS solutions. All of these had to be based on our best professional judgments and on-job learning. These 7 main elements, each of which was a challenge of sorts, were: 1. The establishment of an institutionalized nuclear command and control structure comprising of a National Command Authority, the NCA, the Strategic Plans Division, the SPD, as a one-window secretariat, and the 3 trial services strategic forces in the field to handle the national nuclear capability. This was based straight on the approval that had been accorded to our initial paper that had been presented to the COS and subsequently to 2 other forums of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee, the JCSC, and the National Security Council, the NSC. 2. The conception of a national nuclear policy with a specific vision of where Pakistan nuclear capability ought to be for at least a decade beyond the scientific experiments of May 98, say by the year 2010. This was based on the classic military methodology of assessment of the likely geopolitical and strategic environments in the coming decade, the nature of the evolving threat with an eye on strategic developments across the border, and own technical, operational, and financial capabilities and capacities. 3. Based on the foregoing assessments, translation of the national nuclear policy or vision into a robust force development strategy for the raising, equipping, housing, and training of the 3 trial services strategic forces as the end users as per the then approved policy of credible minimum deterrence. 4. In line with the force development strategy, the real-time sweat and hard labor by the strategic organizations to develop and deliver in adequate numbers in tangible terms the wherewithal of a variety of nuclear weapons for the 3 trial services strategic forces to include weapons earmarked as first and second strike capability. 5. Conceiving and developing a secure and efficient C4I2SR capability, which stands for Command, Control, Communications, Computers, Intelligence, Information, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance. The project of conceiving and developing a modern strategic C4I2SR system was a technical and operational challenge. As you might note, the innocent sounding acronym of C4I2SR has 8 elements within it, each one of which is a wholesome system in itself, to be conceived, developed, tested, integrated, and then fielded within the length and breadth of the nuclear infrastructure to provide foolproof command control capability to the NCA, SPD, and the strategic forces. 6. The securing of all of the foregoing elements of Pakistan nuclear capability against all types of external or internal threat under the broader rubric of nuclear security.
लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल रिटायर्ड खालिद अहमद खुदवाई ने कौमी एडमी पॉलिसी का जिक्र करते हुए कहा कि 1998 के एडमी तजर्बे के बाद हमने अगली दिहाई तक तरक्की के सफर के लिए कुछ अहदाफ का तयन किया.
You would recall that due to the worldwide politico-military fallout of 9/11, the US invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq, the war on terror, and its severe internal fallout inside Pakistan, nuclear security particularly became a top priority area. Under the shadow of the then prevailing adverse geopolitical environments, including the sharp international focus on the safety and security of Pakistan nuclear weapons and the negative international narrative of the possibility of Pakistan nuclear assets falling into wrong hands, further fueled by hostile adversaries, there was zero margin for error. We realized that in those difficult days, when internal terrorist attacks, particularly against Pakistan's military installations, were being conducted with relative impunity, any incident in the domain of the SPD, howsoever big or small, would be just the opportunity that the international media and our adversaries might be waiting for to blow out of proportion and further the purported myth that Pakistan nuclear weapons were not safe. SPD simply could not afford to assign anything but the highest priority to nuclear security. We therefore invested much time, effort, and funds in ensuring that nuclear security of Pakistan's nuclear infrastructure would be as foolproof as was humanly, professionally, and financially possible.
मुशीर बराए तरक्कियात नेशनल कमांड अथॉरिटी लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल रिटायर्ड खालिद अहमद खुदवाई ने दहशतगर्दों के पाकिस्तान में हमले के दौरान दुश्मनों की जानिब से पाकिस्तान के एटमी असासों के खिलाफ प्रोपेगंडे का तस्करा करने के साथ साथ पाकिस्तान के जौहरी हथियारों के महफूज होने के हवाले से मगरबी तज्जियाकारों की तहरीर का जिक्र करते हुए कहा,
Consequently, it was quite satisfying to learn every once in a while the influential international voices which could verify independently through their national tactical means or NTMs, declaring formally that Pakistan nuclear weapons were in safe hands. For example, just one quote amongst the many that I can recall came in David Sanger's book Confront and Conceal: Obama's Secret Wars and Surprising Use of American Power. And he wrote somewhere that the process has impressed as to how seriously the Pakistanis take nuclear security, perhaps more seriously than anyone else in the world.
लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल रिटायर्ड खालिद अहमद कुदवाई ने दिफाई हवाले से खुद इन्हिसारी का तज़किरा करते हुए कहा कि किसी भी प्रोजेक्ट की तकमील के लिए वक्त, वसाइल और तहम्मुल निहायत ज़रूरी अनासिर होते हैं। उन्होंने दिसंबर 2001 में भारतीय जंगी तैयारी को बयान करते हुए कहा कि हमारी तैयारी देखकर उन्हें हमले की जुर्रत नहीं हुई। टेक्टिकल वॉरहेड्स की तैयारी में पाकिस्तान की कामयाबी का तज़किरा करते हुए कहा कि इस प्रोजेक्ट को एक चैलेंज के तौर पर किया गया।
Amongst many other success stories of our times, indigenization of the nuclear infrastructure is one big one. And this is something which was not an SPD effort alone. The story goes back to the earliest days of the commencement of Pakistan nuclear program. Both the eras that I have talked about, 52 odd years cumulatively, are replete with success stories of projects and facilities being developed locally when compelled by sanctions. Perhaps we owe a small vote of thanks to our detractors. Operation Parakram, undertaken by India in the year 2001 and 2, was a watershed event which impacted SPD's force development strategy. As a consequence of the attack on India's parliament in December 2001, India, never in a hurry to establish the truth, straight away put the blame on Pakistan and deployed its entire military in battle-ready, offensive-ready mode on Pakistan's eastern border. Pakistan too followed suit and carried out operational counter-deployments of its conventional forces. For 10 months, however, India did not pick up the courage to attack Pakistan and withdrew its forces after suffering considerable attrition in the hot desert in men, materials, and reputation. Certainly, a contributory factor for India getting deterred was in no small measure because of Pakistan's nuclear capability.
मुशीर बराए तरक्कियात नेशनल कमांड अथॉरिटी ने शॉर्ट और लॉन्ग रेंज के मिसाइल सिस्टम की तैयारी को बयान करते हुए कहा कि भारत मुकम्मल तौर पर पाकिस्तान के मुख्तलिफ जौहरी हथियारों की जद में आ चुका है।
SPD and its organizations identified the scope of the variety of work that needed to be done and got on with it. The eventual outcome was the Nasser short-range multi-tube weapon system with appropriate nuclear yields and range to fully cover the bridgehead battles of India's independent battle groups and follow-on forces. The smaller weapons required plutonium as fissile material. Therefore, the required numbers of plutonium-producing reactors and reprocessing plants were constructed at the fastest pace possible. Astute nuclear diplomacy ensured the required time in terms of years was made available. By 2011, a little over a decade since May 98, we had reached a point in our force development strategy when we felt confident enough to transit Pakistan's nuclear policy from credible minimum deterrence to full spectrum deterrence. During the period of this decade plus, with the development of a variety of ballistic missiles, the tactical nuclear weapon Nasser, together with a family of highly accurate low-flying cruise missiles, Babar and Rad, for a variety of land, air, sea, and undersea platforms, the long-range Shaheen-3 with a range of 2750 kilometers, the Ababil with a multiple independently targeting re-entry vehicle MIRV capability. By 2011, the entire spectrum of nuclear weapons was covered horizontally and vertically. India's vast eastern and southern geographical dimensions, including its outlying territories, were therefore fully covered by Pakistan's various nuclear weapons.
लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल रिटायर्ड खालिद अहमद कुदवाई ने भारतीय वजीर आजम नरेंद्र मोदी और वजीर खारजा जयशंकर की धमकी आमेज बयानात को सियासी बयानबाजी और फरेबकारी करार दिया। उन्होंने मजीद कहा कि पाकिस्तान की मजबूत जौहरी सलाहियत से भारतीय फौज मायूसी का शिकार है। आखिरी बार जब भारतीय दहशतगर्दों का पीछा करने के बहाने पाकिस्तान आए तो अभिनंदन को शानदार चाय पेश की गई थी।
In my opinion, dynamic response strategy is a clear reflection of the limits and constraints imposed by Pakistan's robust nuclear capability on India's strategic and operational options, and therefore my preference to call Pakistan's strategic weapons, especially the tactical nuclear weapons, as weapons of peace. When seen against the reality of the gradual erosion and regression of India's politico-military options in the real world of today's South Asian strategic balance, To me, it sounds comical and a bit exotic to hear India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Defense Minister Rajnath Singh threatening that India will chase infiltrators inside Pakistani territory, and for the born again Hindutva Foreign Minister Jaishankar to say that Pakistan's nuclear capability should be ignored while planning to take Azad Kashmir and Gilgit Baltistan. Such statements at the highest political levels can only fall in the category of political rhetoric and bluster, born out of the frustration of seeing one of the world's largest militaries standing deterred because of Pakistan's robust nuclear capability. They forget the fantastic tea that was served to Abhinandan the last time the Indians came chasing terrorists inside Pakistan.
मुशीर बराए तरक्यात नेशनल कमांड अथॉरिटी लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल रिटायर्ड खालिद अहमद किदवाई ने CISS गोल मेज कॉन्फ्रेंस में अपने खिताब के आखिरी हिस्से में उभरती टेक्नोलॉजीज के हुसूल के लिए पाकिस्तान की कोशिशों का तज़किरा इन अल्फाज में किया।
I've also been asked to give my views on the future trajectory of the nuclear program. I would like to say that there are extremely competent and professional people at the SPD who have a vision of the future trajectory of Pakistan's nuclear program. They are very well versed with the nature of threat and the obtaining geopolitical environments as these exist today and as these are likely to take shape in the future. I have no doubt that they will not only protect the program but also by extension protect Pakistan against all threats and will therefore take the best decisions about the future trajectory in the best interests of Pakistan's security. I have full faith in all my successors who were and are top professionals and who have contributed immensely in taking Pakistan's nuclear capability from strength to strength. We owe them all our gratitude and may Allah bless them all.
पाकिस्तान का एटमी प्रोग्राम खित्ते में ताकत के तवाज़ुन को बरकरार रखने के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है। इस प्रोग्राम के ज़रिए हमने कोशिश की कि इससे मुंसलिक और इस दिफाई प्रोग्राम की कामयाबी में जो बराबर के शरीक हुए उनके अल्फाज में हक़ाइक़ आप तक पहुँचाएँ। उम्मीद है कि पाकिस्तान के जौहरी दिफाई प्रोग्राम के जानने वालों को इसमें पेश किए गए नुकात से अहम मालूमात हासिल हुई होंगी। आइंदा के प्रोग्राम्स में भी हम ये सिलसिला जारी रखेंगे। जब तक के लिए RFI स्पेशल से हमें दीजिए इजाज़त। अल्लाह ने के बाद।